G'day guys, it's Tuesday evening, it's around 6:30, very cold outside. We've had quite a cold few weeks, in particular the daytime temperatures. It's been very difficult to go out without a jumper. All the trees have finished losing their leaves and all that fun stuff. I'm here in the tent tonight. It is 25.7 in here at the moment, 50 degrees humidity. I just wanted to go over a bit of an update. I haven't posted anything in a couple of weeks, largely because I actually picked up COVID finally. It's been a couple of years coming, but it finally came along and it wasn't very fun. It was fine. I'm fine now. Number one, let's start with the positive. Violette de Soleil. This is one of the ones that I posted in my very first fig cutting video, and I hadn't done anything for literally weeks. This has been in here now for, I reckon, 8 weeks, maybe longer, can't even remember. Finally putting on some new growth on this. So we've got some leaves coming on. No roots visible in the bottom of this yet, but they'll come. Finally these leaves have come on. I actually did a video that I never posted about potting up all of my figs into proper pots. I was scheduled to go away, and in fact I did go away, and whilst I was away, that's when I found out I had COVID and had to lock down and couldn't do anything much. But before I did, I wanted all of my figs to be potted up into proper pots so that they could last the 5 days that I was away. Most of them, after potting them up, did fine. However, there have been a couple of potential casualties, one of them being my beloved Black Madeira. Obviously we had some nice green leaves on that, and for whatever reason didn't like being potted up, even though it was potted up the same as all of these other figs, and it lost its leaves. Hasn't totally desiccated the stem yet. It's starting to dry it a little bit. We've got a lot of kind of live looking leaf down there, and I've got a little bit of hope for this one. Vardica is another one that didn't enjoy being potted up. Now, unlike the Black Madeira, I don't have any hope for this particular fig. You can see down the base there a bit of white kind of mold forming. That's a very, very bad sign. You can see that the stem itself is becoming a bit dry and desiccated. I don't think this one is going to be coming back, sadly. We won't give up on it until the end, but clearly not a good sign. However, the majority of the figs that I potted up are doing really, really well. We've got some nice growth on these, and these are going to become really healthy fig trees, and we might even get figs off these in the next 12 months. Might move this. Actually, it was looking a bit too tall for its space up there. Running out of space in the grow tent. Some other updates, for instance, Blue Province Adam's Pride, which has now put on a lot of roots. They're kind of stagnating. We haven't got a single bud up the stem here. I'm becoming a little bit concerned about this particular cutting. I would like to have seen some green buds based upon the amount of roots that are actually in here, and I don't like how the roots are starting to get a bit brown rather than that kind of nice fresh white color. I have a feeling that this fig here is probably, for whatever reason, not going to make it. However, the stem does have a lot of juice in there. It's not looking dry or desiccated. Looks like there's a good chance, so we won't give up on it until the very end. All of the other figs, nothing to really note. They're all doing fine. They're putting on lots of leaves, and they're doing well. So I won't spend a lot of time on figs. I know that I sometimes focus a little bit too much on them, but as you may have noticed, figs are amongst my most exciting collectibles for me. I do love the figs. I moved this Patanga tuber. This was previously in this pot over here, and I cleared out all the pots that I had sitting on this plant, because if you notice this plant over here, the leaves are starting to show, well, not starting, they've been showing for a very long time, that they kind of get to this mature stage, and then they get the browning around the edges, and eventually the browning gets worse and worse until they actually totally die off entirely. And I think it's because the pot that it's sitting in, this is a mamey sapote, the pot that it's sitting in, I think is just too wet. I think this is a sign of too much water. The roots might be starting to rot. We do have these nice green leaves lower down the plant, but even these ones up the top, they're a bit yellow. They don't have the same green color as below, and all around the edges. So what I've done is I've removed all of the pots on here, because even though I've avoided watering the pot, I do water the little pots that are on top of it, and that kind of flows through. And you can see that it is quite wet. It is quite wet. So I'm going to let this one dry out over the next few weeks, and hopefully that will stem this problem a little bit. Although other plants, for instance this canistel right behind it, beautiful green leaves all the way down. You can see that the base of the pot is full of all these little plants. I've got all of my jacarandas in here. I've got a my name escapes me at the back there, but all of these plants are in here, and it's just as wet. It's the same potting mix, it's the same everything. Clearly this canistel is doing better than this mamey sapote just here. A couple of little fun things that are going on in the tent. I showed a few weeks ago that this carambola, this starfruit, was flowering, and now we actually have some little baby starfruit forming on the plant down there. So not too many, and I'll pluck the majority of them off. I don't know how much this plant can take. I don't know how many fruit this thing can hold. Maybe those two that are fruited will be all that I need, but I'm very pleased to see them on there. And over here in this back corner we have another fruit forming here. We have a black sapote that is now really starting to put on some size and looking like a proper real fruit. Now I'm a little bit cautiously optimistic about this one. There was a second black sapote on this plant which did drop off. I don't even know where that dropped off to, but it was almost the same size, and for no reason it kind of aborted. So I will keep an eye on it. We'll keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we will be able to fruit a black sapote in the tent. Everything else is doing fairly well. There's some desiccation on our Cherimoya leaves. I think this is because of the pyrethrum based insecticide that I use to try to control those aphids. But generally, apart from that, these are doing really well. You can see they're actually almost once again to the top of the tent, and if you go back through my videos, if you haven't been watching before, you'll see where I topped these plants just a couple of months ago because they were already too high, and now they've done really well to shoot out all across the plant. And that's the same with all of the Cherimoyas that I topped. They're doing exceptionally well. Lots of new growth, lots of new height, and just generally pretty healthy. This longan back here, which I moved because it was sunburnt. So this is a seedling longan from Dallas, and the leaves, if you recall, were quite sunburnt. Is now starting to put on some new growth up the stem here, and that growth I'm hoping is going to come up as nice and dark and green now that I've moved it out from under the direct light. However, I will say that these longans, for whatever reason, they keep losing all of their leaves. They drop their stems and their new buds quite frequently, and I'm not sure why. And it's not just this one. I've got another one over here, and you can see down on the ground we have these leaves from the longan, and I don't know why. I don't know what it is about this that this plant just doesn't enjoy. I mean, we've got some nice humidity in the plant. I try not to overwater them or underwater them. I like to keep them balanced. But for whatever reason, these longans do that quite a lot. I have another one over here, and I believe this is actually a lychee, but the lychees and longans are quite similar. And it really hasn't done much in the tent at all since it's been in here. We've got the Rollinia behind here, still fighting aphids. I don't think this battle is ever going to be fully won. I'm not sure what it is. Just can't keep on top of these aphids, keep spraying them as you've seen in my other videos. But oh gosh, look at this down here. I hate aphids, I really do. But I'll give them another spray. I've run out of the organic stuff, so I have to run down to Bunnings and get some more tomorrow, I think. But it's doing alright. It's putting on some new leaves. I would like to see it do a little bit more, to be honest. It really isn't doing that much interesting. These new buds are nice to see, but I'd like to see it flower, or perhaps, I don't know, I'd like to see it beat this war with the aphids. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Another black sapote over here that's doing really well. Hasn't got any new fruits on it like the other one, but it's looking quite well. One thing that I did do is I planted in the base of some of these pots some strawberries, and they are all starting to fruit. So I wanted to see and have an idea about how the lights in the tent were, and if they were enough to actually ripen and fruit, something that's quite quick and easy to turn over, so that I would be able to tell if we could actually ripen our black sapote and our star fruit. And these are a really good indication, at least I think. Strawberries, they're not huge energy users, but at the same time you do need a sufficient amount of light and heat to make sure they ripen. With our seedling Anona in here, I thought originally it was a Cherimoya, but after thinking about it, I actually think it's a custard apple. I threw away some custard apple seeds and tried to seed them, gosh, 18 months ago, and that's one of the ones that popped up. The war with the aphids. No plant unaffected. Try my best. I actually put some of the pyrethrum on this, and now it's dropping its leaves as well. Aphids are a real problem in this tent, and I know I've said it a few times in a few videos, but they really are a problem that I just don't know how to get on top of. The Babico, got some fruit forming on this one as well. So the Babico is doing well. The Babico does have a tendency, however, to get to fruit about this size and then drop them. So whether or not they're not getting pollinated or there's some other issue, I'm not certain yet. I guess time will tell. This plant here, I'm not particularly worried about it. I don't care about the Babico too much. From what I've seen, it doesn't have the best flavour in the world. I do love the leaf shape. I think that the Babico leaves are beautiful, but the fruit themselves I'm not too worried about. If I can just keep it going over the next couple of months till spring comes along and then chuck it back in the yard, I'm sure that it will get pollinated and will fruit and ripen for me in the next season. Down here, the Bunchosia, this is the peanut butter fruit. This has put on a lot of size since it's been in the tent. In fact, this loves the tent. The leaves are starting to look a little bit blotchy, maybe a little bit chloriotic. I'm not sure why that is. It is quite a greedy plant. It could be nutrient related. It's definitely getting enough light right below this this bulb here, but I'm not certain why that is. I'm waiting to see if it flowers. I'd love to try some fruits off that plant. Doing really well. This is the Bugmansia. This is the plant that I potted up at the same time as all the figs. Doing really well down here. A couple of additions you haven't seen in the tent. We have black pepper plant down here, which I will be rolling up this kind of this tent. And look at some aphids on this one as well. Look at this. Look at these goddamn aphids. I hate aphids, guys. I hate aphids. Don't know what to do about these bloody aphids. Looks like I have to spray even more. I think that's it for the general updates in the tent. We're doing pretty well. We are halfway through June, and so June is the first proper month of winter. We won't be getting warm enough outside until the end of October or November again, so we've still got a fair bit to go on, but I think that's based upon this and the fact that these have now been in this tent for 4 or 5 months, some of these plants, that we're going to get through just fine. And I think that next season many of these plants we're actually going to see some really beautiful fruits off of. Fingers crossed. And I'll just finish up with this rose apple down here, because I know I said in another video that the rose apple is not one that I was particularly interested in, but it loves this tent. It has put on so much growth since it's been in here. It is just a very vigorous, beautiful plant that's not affected by aphids. It doesn't mind being under no direct light. So actually, I'm starting to love this little rose apple. I think it's great. Anyway guys, I'll leave it there. There's other plants we haven't gone across, like the dragon fruit, which I don't love. A whole bunch of figs we haven't covered before, but I think for today we'll leave it there. I've also got some other little things and projects that I'm playing with, such as mushrooms that I might post some videos of. I've taken some videos, but I've got to kind of chop it and edit together, and I'm just running out of time in my kind of life to get those videos done properly and to make sure that they make sense, especially when you take them in multiple parts. But we'll see if I ever get them up or not, and if not, well, we'll just see you in the next one, I guess. Alright guys, catch you later.